On July 2, 1955, a routine flight took off from New York City. Its destination was Miami, Florida. Pan American World Airways Flight 914 was expected to be a short trip. The plane carried 57 passengers and 4 crew members. Everything seemed normal as the plane soared into the sky. Then, without warning, Flight 914 disappeared from radar. Air traffic control frantically tried to contact the plane. Their attempts were met with silence. Search and rescue missions were immediately dispatched. They scoured the Atlantic Ocean for any sign of the missing aircraft. Days turned into weeks, and hope began to dwindle. The fate of Flight 914 remained a haunting mystery. The disappearance of Flight 914 sent shockwaves through the aviation world. It became a chilling reminder of the unpredictable nature of air travel. Families and friends of the passengers were left in a state of agonizing uncertainty. The loss of Flight 914 served as a stark example of the fragility of life. It also highlighted the vastness and mystery of the world we inhabit. Fast forward 37 years to September 9, 1992. An ordinary day at Caracas Airport in Venezuela took an extraordinary turn. An unidentified aircraft appeared on the radar, seemingly out of nowhere. Air traffic controllers were baffled. The plane's antiquated design immediately stood out. It was a Douglas DC-4, a model that hadn't been in service for decades. As the aircraft approached the runway, air traffic control made contact with the pilot. What they heard sent shivers down their spines. The pilot identified himself as Captain Robert Loft, and he claimed to be operating Pan Am Flight 914. He sounded confused and disoriented. The pilot reported that he was scheduled to land in Miami. He seemed unaware that he had been missing for almost 4 decades. Air traffic control guided the bewildered pilot and his aircraft to the runway. Emergency crews and airport authorities were on high alert, ready to respond to what could only be described as the impossible. As the plane came to a stop, a sense of disbelief and trepidation permeated the air. Had Flight 914 truly returned after all these years? The door of the aircraft slowly creaked open, revealing a scene that seemed frozen in time. The passengers emerged, dressed in 1950s attire. They appeared dazed and confused as they stepped onto the tarmac. The crew members seemed equally bewildered. Time appeared to have stood still for the passengers and crew of Flight 914. They had no recollection of the missing years. The passengers' belongings, including newspapers, magazines, and currency, were all from 1955. The plane itself seemed remarkably well preserved. It was as if it had been suspended in a time capsule for 37 years. The mystery of Flight 914 deepened. How could a plane and its passengers vanish for nearly 4 decades and reappear as if nothing had happened? The Venezuelan authorities were faced with an enigma that defied rational explanation. The world watched in astonishment as the story of Flight 914's reappearance unfolded. The Venezuelan authorities launched a full-scale investigation into the perplexing reappearance of Flight 914. They interviewed the passengers and crew extensively. They hoped to uncover clues that could shed light on the missing decades. However, the passengers' accounts were fragmented and inconsistent. They had no memory of any unusual events between their departure from New York and their arrival in Caracas. The mystery only deepened as the investigation progressed. Theories about time warps, alien abductions, and alternate dimensions began to circulate. Some speculated that Flight 914 had inadvertently entered a rift in the space-time continuum. Others believed that the plane had been intercepted by extraterrestrial beings. Skeptics argue that the story is a complete fabrication. They point out the lack of concrete evidence and inconsistencies in the accounts. Despite thorough investigations, the mystery of Flight 914 remains unsolved.